Welcome to the ABQ Accent, where catalysts, innovators, and risk takers share what their accent is on their work. Like a spoken accent, we all have an inflection or emphasis on where we put our energy. Join us to learn how these folks are putting their accents to work, building their vision of the future, and how you can get involved. Welcome, Jodie Jepson. I will tell you, one of my personal local heroes. I'm so pleased to have you today and to be able to ask you some questions that just I think the community will help better understand your work and the department, but also what brought you here. And so I'm going to start really simply. Tell me more about your background and how it brought you to this role and what are you doing?
Yeah, sure. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here and to be back with the city of Albuquerque. So it's great. A little bit about my background. So I'm going to probably go back, but I think the drive and the motivation really stems from when I was younger, diagnosed with a learning difficulty, and I had a really bad speech impediment. So early on in my education, I struggled with school and just had a really tough time. And I think through those years, through my mom and my dad, it was just a constant never give up, and you can do whatever you want to do in your life and set goals and those types of things. So I was blessed to get through college really through sports. I had some scholarships, and that was my way to get through college, to get my college degree in psychology. And really that my last 2 years of college really that's just really where I really wanted to understand the brain and addictions and behavioral health issues, and just kind of evolved from there.
So so you have your BA, and then you went straight to work.
I did. I actually got a job in Colorado as a certified addictions counselor. So that was one of the areas that I had a lot of interest in, of learning about addictions. My mom was an addict. I went through that throughout my life with her and some behavioral health stuff. So I was just kind of at a place I wanted to better understand why people do make the choices that they make, and to see if I could help support them in changing the way that they live. So that's really where that started. And then moved back to Albuquerque, got my start at HopeWorks, previously known as St. Martin's.
Right.
And I was an addictions counselor there, and through that working with the unsheltered population, which was a huge eye-opener. It was new for me.
Okay.
Just in a world of people, just a lot of suffering with addictions and trauma. And so again, it was just this motivation and passion to just figure out how I could better walk with folks to support them in their path. So then it just kind of evolved from there, working at different places within the city.
So at the time when you started with HopeWorks, how many, patients would you be seeing a week?
Yeah, so we average caseloads can go from 10 to 25. So we just have some caseloads, and we meet with them one-on-one, or figure out how to best support them through housing and groups, just some social skills. There's a spectrum, which we'll probably talk about here soon, of folks with a lot of disabilities, and really identifying what those individual needs are and how we can walk with them. So
you're really you're helping them when they come to you where they are.
And I think that just really has carried over into my efforts and my work along. I was thinking just the other day, I've been doing this work for 25 years. It's like, wow, I'm getting up there. But I've just had so many amazing opportunities to learn and grow from different staff level and leadership and mentors over the years. And it's just been such a blessing to take all those things that I've learned, and really where I've really learned the most is from the people. And so I was in the nonprofit world for quite a while, and I was part of the pilot program within APD Coast. It was the inception of Coast. And I jumped and was like, oh my God, I'm going to go work for the police department. What is this about? And I did it. And I was just, one memory that really kind of led my way for me was I was working with a very experienced, knowledgeable crisis intervention officer. Mm-hmm. And I was doing a ride along with him, and we're going out on this call, and he's going fast. And I was like, oh my God. And this gentleman in the middle of the street is standing there with no clothes on. You know, he clearly was in severe psychosis. Yeah. And the officer got out of the car and just de-escalated him with kindness and respect and love. And I was like, oh my God, I want to do that. That is like the coolest thing. And it took like 2 minutes, you know, for him to just catch a breath and to sit down and to really listen and to help him feel safe. And so that was just kind of my path with the police department, and walking with those who are unsheltered with just a whole spectrum of issues.
What was the COAST program? Is there an acronym?
Yeah, so COAST is Crisis Outreach and Support Team. That was so really the division I work for now, Albuquerque Community Safety. It's a super kind of like well, now it's, you know, it's a large division, but that was kind of the smaller part of the police department. So civilians who respond to 911 calls of individuals that are in crisis, which can vary from homelessness to an elderly call. Yeah, so worked there for 10 years and just had the best experience working with the men and women of our city, of law enforcement, who just really, truly, genuinely care. You know, I think there's these myths and judgments about law enforcement, which to this day, I'll shut that down real quick if I can, just because
you've been there, you saw it.
Exactly. So. That was just a blessing. And then I went back to the nonprofit world at Heading Home and worked there for 10 years. And my new boss, Maliela Ruiz, believed in me, and she's like, "Hey, let's see if we can make a bigger impact with the unhoused, unsheltered population here." So
I think that
cool.
was. That was a really quick pivot. We're going to back up a little bit.
Yeah, sure. I know. It's fine.
There's a lot I want to ask about all those things. And I really do want to acknowledge, though, that memory of pulling over to help that person was a formative experience for you. And I will also, I want to give you so much credit, because that's what I see from you now is the ability to de-escalate with love and respect for the person that's in front of you. So I know that other people are learning from you in turn.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Yeah. It's awesome. Yeah.
So what I wanted to do is back up a little bit, because I feel like there's more to share about, especially your time at HopeWorks for now, because I want to expand on what you were able to develop through Street Connect, an incredible outreach program that's still being active and impacting people and improving people's lives every single day. And I know that there's a number of different staff members that are involved in that whole ideation and the day-to-day sort of impact of it. And I wonder if you could expand more on that work.
Yeah, sure. So, you know, I recall back going into meetings probably 10 to 15 years ago, or even early days when I was with the department with Coast, of, you know, there's a subpopulation of individuals who are unsheltered and they are high utilizers of the systems, emergency, hospitals, jails, AFR, EMS, you know, and it's like, well, how do we decrease those calls? But more importantly, you know, how do we walk with that person to get them to a safe place and get them help? And, you know, I think kind of things come and go. You know, I think when things are so complex and difficult, like people, you know, can't really wrap their head around it, or it's not a priority. And that's okay, right? And so, through my work at Heading Home, I was given an opportunity from my supervisor at the time. I went and asked him, "Hey, I want to do a pilot. Are you cool if I run a pilot and really look at the most acute individuals for calls for service, the ones that are exhausting all the hospitals and all the 911 resources?" And he's like, "Yeah, absolutely." Through that pilot, it was a natural fit to walk with the Albuquerque Police Department. So we started in downtown. We had 5 individuals who were severely, high calls for service, but also had a severe behavioral health issues, from schizophrenia to substance use to medical needs. And so we really just spent time with folks and walked with people and really listened to them. And that pilot really demonstrated that if you create a service delivery model where you literally can walk with people and meet their immediate needs, and create those pathways that you can have an impact. For me, first and foremost, that's for the person, but as a system, it was a significant shift with APD. So got support from city council, and Councilor Benton was a huge advocate and saw the need, and it just expanded. Before I left, Street Connect budget was almost $5 million. We had a contract with UNMH. UNMH would identify high users within the ED and psych emergency, and they would call my team out, and the team would go out and just sit with them and connect. I really love that word is we're connectors and we build relationships. And so, I kind of think over time, I was personally just kind of ready to see from a more of a macro or from a systems approach, being able to do that work at a different level. Again, taking things that I've learned over time, and being able to make change. So, it was really an amazing experience to be able to build those relationships and look at the system and change. I mean, you're dealing with huge institutions or, hospitals and cultures. And one of the things I'm excited about now in my new role is going into the systems and really getting investment from higher level management or political will and saying we can do this.
Right.
Yeah.
All of your time on the ground, acting on those connections, you have the evidence to show what works. You have the ability to tell stories of individuals that were able to move forward and make changes for themselves along with some assistance. And I think that's exactly what those people are looking for, is like, okay, we've read the things, we've seen other cities, but what is working in Albuquerque, and what can we do for you? And I really feel like they're asking you those questions, like, what do we do next? How do we do it? And that's very much a good place for you to be, because you don't necessarily, even though I might sound like it, aren't pretentious to say, I have all the answers. What you have to say is you have the heart to look into it, to make the answers known. We'll figure it out together with everybody's help.
Yeah. If I knew, I learn every day something new, and I learn from, just so many different people too. So, it's great. It's just, I appreciate that. Yeah. We're going to make some change. So,
we can talk a little bit more about that too. And I'm interested in, if you expand a little bit on, you said you really love the word connection, and that I think is a core action word and a value at the same time. So what is it that really keeps you motivated, keeps you moving in this work, to know how discreetly and difficult these challenges are for individuals, but you keep coming to the table because I feel like you believe in maybe something bigger?
Yeah. And, there's times been throughout my work, I'm like, what continues to allow me to show up? And I think it's, just doing some introspection or reflection around kind of my own personal journey of suffering, or being, kind of having a learning difficulty and being told, well, you can't do that, or, why would you even think that you could accomplish that? Or so I've been able to kind of come from this framework or lens of like, it's, don't tell me I can't do something, because I'll figure it out. Yeah. I'll try, it doesn't mean I'm going to succeed, but, that's kind of that core motivation for me. But there's also that other piece of that is, and I say this, and this is what, it's walking with people who are suffering. And what is, I think so many people have such a great misunderstanding of unsheltered populations. Until you can really get out there and sit with somebody, or walk with somebody on their path. And I say walk with somebody because literally you have to do that. There's this misconception of you can't do for, but there's a subpopulation of people who you have to do for. Like you have to walk with them to get medical. You have to walk with them to get the behavioral health appointment, to get the housing voucher. I think just empathy and sitting there, I think that's just what it's about. Because there's something that happens in a person's brain, or a connection or a feeling that they have that now, that someone cares about them.
It's like a chemical transition.
Totally. Yeah. And it's both ways, right? And so you and it, especially in New Mexico, there's such our culture and our socioeconomic, it's just, it varies. And the poverty, and I mean, it just, there's just so much going on, and people are suffering, but you can sit down with somebody and give somebody hope and figure out how we can continue to impact their lives in different ways. So
and work on that system so that people don't get lost in a system where people are forgetting about them or what's ahead for them.
And the systems, one of the thing that, with my current boss, Maliel Ruiz, is, we're really looking at, when we say the systems and immediate needs, we're going to be able to access direct care for folks on the streets with medical and psychiatry. And again, I think that's just a misconception of, like, people aren't accessing medical care like you or I, you know what I mean? They don't have that just hop into and make an appointment to get to a primary care doc. That's where they use the emergency departments. And so it's going to be a systems change on many levels. One, for the person, but two, we're not going to see all those ED visits now because they're receiving street care out in the street and or eventually in the clinic. So and we're going to learn so much from that too. So everything is a learning opportunity. So it's pretty cool.
That was part of the next sort of vision of what is innovative about what you were doing. And I think, definitely we want to acknowledge Mariela, because she's been there since day one with Albuquerque Community Safety. She's seen it grow. She's been part of those really critical pieces of the evolution of recognizing what is needed out in the community. And I think her bringing you on is one of the biggest deals. In your new role, let me see if I get this right, as the Albuquerque Homeless Liaison Manager.
Albuquerque Community Safety Homeless Liaison Administrator. Something like that, yeah.
And that's at the higher level, you're able to see so many different things. And so I'm excited, like you're saying about, you can talk about innovative systems, but I think what your examples just were about the direct support that they're receiving on the street for medical care is one of the most innovative things we've seen. And when you say it out loud, it almost feels like, well, yeah, of course we should be providing that, but why haven't we? And so now we get to, and we'll learn from it. Yes. So we'll start with what we have and what we can do.
And what, another really, really thing I love to do, which you would think from, I look back and I'm like, wow, I spoke in front of, a few years ago, I spoke in front of a group of people, 200 people, and I got on there and I'm stuttering and I'm like, Jodie, just take a deep breath. Like, you got this. And, it's one, I get really passionate, but two, I go 100 miles an hour. So I share that because it just goes back to, you can do whatever you put your mind to. And if you believe in something enough, then you just do what you have to do. So I knew I had to get up there and share the work, in front of 200 people. Right. But the really great thing now is I get to go back to build those relationships with the nonprofits, with healthcare and HopeWorks, and not rebuild them, but but connect again and really look at aligning and being allies and really being able to connect people,
Right.
and more strategic, intentional, respectful ways. Really, that's what I just am so excited about. Not sure how it's all going to work out, but we're going to give it the best
Yeah.
shot.
Well, it
So-
very much sounds like an abundance, positive growth mindset that's getting you there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
And
yeah,
and
for sure.
empowering others to do their work from that perspective too. From you saying, let's come to the table and it's not competitive. We're all here for the same purpose. We have some of the very similar goals. I think that matters to share, to empower.
Yeah, the next kind of relationship building at, sitting at the table with the hospitals and the managed care organizations and AFR and APD and saying, hey, we're all seeing the same folks here.
Yeah.
Like, we don't need to.
Right.
Let's work a little, I don't, not in a negative way, but we need to work smart and strategic. And so it doesn't put so much, pressure on the system, where they can actually then go start to do other calls for service. So that's what Maliella has created with ACS. And so this is just kind of another component to that, which it's just really cool and exciting. So
Yeah. It's some beautiful puzzle pieces coming together. And
Yeah.
I believe you guys are currently housed over at the Gibson Health Center, and then you'll have your own space that's getting built out.
Yeah, it looks like beginning of next year, maybe spring. Not quite sure on that date, but yeah.
It'll get there.
So
The
yeah.
work still has to be done.
Yes, and I just got out in the field this week with the team. It's just awesome. So it's great to be back out in the field again too, to see faces and that I've known and worked with, and meet new folks who we're going to come up with a plan with and be able to work with them to get them off the streets.
And I also feel like getting out into the community to those touch points for you isn't going to go away just because you're working at this higher level. It's just sort of in you to stay in touch.
Yeah, just for my own personal well-being and doing this work, that's really key for me. But going into different meetings or different, levels of leadership, I feel like that's going to be important that I can bring that to the table. So yeah, it's awesome.
I so appreciate that you're sharing a little bit of your background and sort of where those emotions can come from. So because you're in it, you're in the soup, if you will, in a good way. It's a healthy soup. Tell me more about sort of on the personal side. What is it that keeps you grounded when you sort of leave that environment? There is a Jodie that I know is creative and still very passionate and cares so much about her friends and her family. Do you have a dog and you have a backyard? Tell me.
Yeah, it's my son. He's 17. His name's Brody, and he's just coolest kid, and it's just been such an honor and blessing to watch him grow up to be this great young man. And he's gonna, it's his last year, he's gonna be going to college, so I'm just really just sitting in that right now, and trying to take every moment I can. He's busy, but I'll take what I can.
Right.
I have a dog, a lab, who loves to eat, but loves to go on walks too. My dad and my brother moved back from California, so I'm blessed for that. Yeah. Great support with friends, and just try to get outside as much as I can. I'm from here. I'm a native New Mexican. Albuquerque is my home, and it's great to go away, but it's just amazing to come home. So
I would agree.
Yeah. It's cool.
Yeah, it's nice to have the local flavor in the day to day.
For sure.
So I wonder if you can leave us on a couple of notes. How can people support your work or your challenges right now? And through that, at the end of the day, how do you know you've made a difference?
Supporting the work. I think if there was a message, there's many nonprofits and even through the city where you can, give money to support missions and things like that. So I always encourage that. If you have a nonprofit, whatever that looks like. continue to do that. I think if there was a message right now, I would share just be open to try to understand unsheltered populations in a different way.
Right.
And at times it's very confusing. And I'm listening to all the 311 call, or I'm reading all the 311 calls that are coming in, and people are angry and
Right.
frustrated, and I understand that.
Yeah.
It's valid. But try to be patient and respectful and kind. We're all doing the best we can. But can we learn and do better? And that's what we hope to do, is to really, decrease those calls and help those folks, which in turn helps the community, right? We can't blame the people. That's a big message for me. Don't blame the people. It's a systems issue. The system's broken.
100%.
Yeah, so we tend to blame somebody, when that's not where the issue lies. So
A national system too.
exactly, absolutely. So just keep that in mind
Yeah.
when you're engaging or somebody's in your space, and very hopeful that we're going to have some different strategies down the road. So
Yeah. And so at the end of the day, how do you know you made a difference, or how do you want to feel?
yeah, at the end of the day, how do you know you made a difference? I think, in this new role, it's just been so great meeting the team and watching them, and they're just, you do this work because you have this compassion. It's, there's this, it's not for everybody, for sure. And so watching them has really just been great, and motivating, but also, people are taking care of people, and it's a community service. And so at this moment in time, that's kind of what fills my heart right now, and supporting them and continuing to do this work. How do they get up, stay motivated, stay positive? Because it's tough out there. It's tough when you're seeing the same person over and over and over again. And so, part of that morale is really coming up with some different strategies to help them.
Right.
So they feel like they made a difference, so one day at a time.
That's true too.
Yeah.
But you're continuing to pass the torch of these values, and I think that it's very needed and it's very powerful, the work that you're doing and will be doing. And so are you. Thank you so much for being with us today, Jodie.
Thank you, Maria. I really appreciate your time.
Yeah.
Cool.